Hey everybody, today is a unique day in the life of the church. Today is what we call All Saints' Day. Today we remember those people in our lives. We pause to remember the people in our lives who have gone before us. People that we loved, people that we cared about. And maybe for you, this is a day, if you're someone who's been a follower of Jesus all your life, this is one of those days that's a little hard. It's a hard day to choke down. Maybe you didn't know that this was All Saints' Day, and you're saying to yourself, uh-oh, here come the tears. But today is a unique day where we pause to remember those people in our life that we love, people that have shaped us, people that we care about who have gone before us. And here's why this day is such a special day. It's such a unique day because you and I, all of us, we have our own All Saints story. We have our own story about that person that meant so much to us. And their passing is seared in our memory. My All Saints story happened when I was just 9 years old. I was just a little boy. The year was 1983. And my parents, they made a trip from Jamestown, North Dakota, where we lived, to Rochester, Minnesota. And they did this on a regular basis. Every year, my mother, she was a diabetic, and she had some complications with her medical condition. And so every year, she would go for an annual checkup to Rochester. And so this year I thought was no different. As a little 9-year-old boy, my grandparents came to stay with us. It was December, and who doesn't want your grandparents staying with you in December? They spoiled us rotten. But that time with them kind of came to a halt when we got a phone call from my dad in Rochester. And I knew something was wrong, but I didn't fully understand as a little boy. My grandparents quickly packed bags, threw them into the car, threw us in the car, and we took off in the midst of a December snowstorm for Rochester, Minnesota to see my parents. And as we traveled, as Minnesota December snowstorms can get, the snow fell, the weather got worse and worse and worse, and we actually ended up having to pull off, and we spent the night in a motel in Barnesville, Minnesota, of all places. My grandma, she gave us baths. I remember she read us books. My grandpa tucked us into bed, and all was good until in the middle of the night, it wasn't. The phone rang, and I'll never forget my grandpa picking up the phone. And within minutes, my stoic Scandinavian grandma and grandpa, they were bawling. They were crying endlessly. And soon, when we found out what had happened, we joined. My mother had passed away from complications with a staph infection. You see, that's my All Saints story, and I know you have one as well. You have that memory of that loved one who meant so much to you, and their passing is seared in your memory. Today, I want to wonder a little bit about this name that we call this day. We call it All Saints' Day. And I want to suggest something. I have always had a hard time with what we call this day. We call it All Saints, as if those people in our lives who have passed were all saints all the time. I mean, think about what that name implies. It implies that they were the sort of people that were in church every Sunday. They were the sort of people that always made wise decisions. They never hurt anyone. They never caused anyone pain. They never lost their temper. And let me tell you, admittedly, my mom lost her temper on me quite often. I deserved it. That name, All Saints, implies that they were sort of all saints all the time. And here's what we know. Those people that we love, they are wonderful people, and they were likely generous, but they are rarely all saints. They're rarely all saints. On the one hand, we love them, but from time to time, let's be honest, they could cause us to pull our hair out, right? She was an incredibly generous woman, but you didn't want to get on her bad side. He was a thoughtful father, but for some reason, he could never, for the life of him, remember your anniversary. These people in our lives that we love, that have gone before us, they were rarely all saints, if we're really honest. They were both saints, as we say in the church, and they were sinners, right? They, on the one hand, they were heartfelt people, but they could also be sort of hurtful. They made us laugh. They made us cry. Maybe your mother, she brought you to school in the morning each day, gave you a big hug, but at the end of the day, she had a hard time remembering to pick you up, if you're really honest. They're people that we care about, people that we love, people who, on the one hand, they were faithful people. On the other hand, they were fearful people. On the one hand, they could be the life of the party, right? They were sort of people whose parties were legendary until they would begin their political commentary. You know what I'm saying? They were just these wonderful people who were saints and they were sinners. Well, in the Bible, there's a character who this reminds me of. There's a guy by the name of Peter who, on the one hand, he was a saint. On the other hand, he was a sinner. And in the life of the church, sometimes we call him a saint, but he was anything but all saint all the time. In fact, Peter, in the beginning of the story, when we're introduced to him, his name isn't even Peter. His name is Simon, and he's just an ordinary, everyday fisherman. When Jesus says, I'm inviting you to follow me. And when Peter accepted that call to be a disciple, you would expect that his life would change like that all of a sudden he'd sort of have a halo, as all of a sudden he would be patient and he would be loving and he would have no doubts. He'd have his act together as though he wore a bulletproof vest. His faith was solid. But the truth is, nothing could be further from the truth. Jesus had this special relationship with him, and yet he had doubts. He would be anxious. He would be fearful, and his faith would be anything but perfect. For example, Jesus called Peter the first of all the disciples. The story says, as Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon, who he would later call Peter, casting a net into the sea, for he was a fisherman. Come, follow me. Peter was the first recruit. He was obviously Jesus' top priority. He calls Peter first over all the other disciples. And it seems to suggest that Jesus and Peter, they have a special relationship. The story goes on and it says this: when they had finished eating one day, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And he replied, "Yes, Lord." And say this with me: "You know I love you." You know I love you. It's as if they've had this conversation before. They had this deep, intimate, unique relationship. So much so that Jesus does something for Peter he doesn't do for anyone else. He gives him a new name. Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, son of John. You will be called Cephas." And translated, Jesus would have been speaking in Aramaic. It says, which, when translated in Greek, which is what the Bible was translated into, it means Peter. Why would Jesus give him a new name? Because that name, Peter, guess what it means? It means rock. For Jesus, Peter was solid. He was the stable one. He was the steady one. He was the one that was always dependable. This is what Jesus thought of him. And yet, you guys, when Peter and the disciples were in the boat, do you remember this story? Jesus was walking on water towards them. What does Peter do? Peter hops out of the boat. He tries to walk on water. And yet it says he what? He began to sink. Why did he begin to sink? The story is so clear. Because he had doubts. You see, that's Peter. He's a saint and a sinner. And those loved ones in our life, rarely are they all saints all the time. We find out that Peter, he's got this incredible faith. he and Jesus are in Caesarea Philippi. It's a town that was built by a guy named Philip, who was Caesar's son. In the middle of this town, they built this huge temple, which was a temple to Caesar, the Holy Roman Emperor. And there every day people would gather at that temple to worship the king. All right, imagine if in the center of your town there was a temple and you were forced to go there every day to worship the president. Not going to happen, but that's what they did in that little town. There was also in that town this elaborate shrine to the god Pan. He was a fertility god. There was also in that town a cave that was known as the Gate of Hades. It was a cave that was believed to be the entry point to the underworld. So there in this town, Jesus and Philip, they're standing there, surrounded by the empire, surrounded by these idols, surrounded by the underworld. And there Peter does something that was remarkable. He makes a public profession of his faith that was unlike anything that was ever made before. He says this, "You are the," say it with me, "Messiah, the Son of the living God." Why is this such a big deal? Because Messiah was a political term. It means anointed one. The only one that was anointed, the only one that was the Messiah was Caesar. And there, Peter makes this public declaration that Jesus is his king. Not Caesar, not Rome. He's not bowing to any idols. That Jesus is the one who's above the underworld, above all other powers. It was a powerful moment. And so how does Jesus respond? It says, Jesus looks at Peter and says, "Peter, on you," say it with me, "I will build my church." You are the rock, Peter. You are the steady, the stable. You are the foundation that I am going to build the church on once I am gone. And that's what Jesus will tell Peter and the other disciples. I'm going to be leaving you. And when Peter hears that, he tries to argue with Jesus. Never, that won't happen. And that's when Jesus responds. It says, Jesus turned to Peter and said, get this, say this with me, "Get behind me, Satan. You, Peter, are a stumbling block." You see, this is Peter. He's rarely all saint, right? He's saint and he's sinner. When he hears that Jesus is going to be carted away, that the story is not going to end well, he looks at Jesus and says, "Lord, I am ready to go with you to prison and to death." And when the religious thugs came to get Jesus, what does Peter do? He pulls out his sword and chops the ear off one of the guards. But it would just be a couple days later, when Jesus is on the cross for all to see, that when asked, "Do you know this guy?" Peter says, "I don't know him." Not once, not twice, but 3 times. You see, this was Peter. No one who knew Peter would say that he was all saint all the time. And isn't that the same with these people in our lives that we love? If we could be really honest, they're human. They're both, on the one hand, they are saints, and on the other hand, they're sinners. To put it another way, they're flawed and they're faithful. Right? They were people that experienced things in their life that broke them, and yet at the same time, they were beloved. They were people who were messy. Their lives from time to time, they could be chaotic, and yet we looked at them, and to us, they were mighty. They were people who were bruised. They had their scars, and yet at the same time, they were beautiful. They could be hurtful, and yet they were heartfelt. They were people who from time to time, they were just a hot mess. And yet here's what you and I know. They were very blessed. They were saints and they were sinners. So they're the sort of people who at work are gracious and loving, and yet in other places they could sort of be, well, they could be a jerk. They forgive, right? but they rarely are the sort of people that forget, right? They get everyone laughing with a joke, but they could say something that sort of stung, that had this sort of poke to it. They could be tender, and yet they were people, you know this, they found themselves on a bender every once in a while. You see, these are these people in our lives. They're just like Peter. They were saints and they were sinners. And if you and I today, if we were really honest, aren't we the same? Aren't we the exact same way? We're the same. We're flawed and we are faithful. We're broken, we're beloved. We're a mess and yet we're mighty. We're bruised and beautiful, hurtful, heartfelt. We're a hot mess one day and very blessed the next day. You and I, we are the exact same. We are saints and we are sinners. I mean, come on. Some of you, Thanksgiving is coming. You're going to host Thanksgiving dinner. And it's going to be huge. You're going to invite your entire family. And yet, come on, be honest. 3 years ago, when your son couldn't make it home for Thanksgiving, you still hold a grudge. I mean, some of you, you're known for being gracious out in public, and yet at home, you're kind of if you're honest, you're kind of a stickler. You're known for your generosity. You love all kinds of people, and yet, if you were honest, you don't have a time of day for people who don't vote the way you do. Come on, we're all like Peter. We're rarely all saints. We are saints and we are sinners. And so today I want to thank God that Peter reminds us, and Paul says it explicitly, that when it comes to faith, God isn't calling us to be perfect. God isn't calling us to be people who have it all together all the time. God isn't calling us to be people that have bulletproof faith. In fact, Paul writes these words in the book of Hebrews. He says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us, say this with me, throw off everything that hinders and the sin that is so easily what? It so easily entangles. Right? What Paul knew is you and I, we have this thing, this idea that hinders us. And it sort of gets our faith all tangled and jumbled up. It gets it all mixed up. You see, you and I have this idea that to have faith means we've got to have it all together. That we've got to know it all. We've got to do it all. We've got to be at the top of our game all the time. And Paul's going to tell us that nothing could be further from the truth. It actually has nothing to do with you having it all together. Paul will go on and say this. He says, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on who? On Jesus, who is the pioneer and, say this with me, perfecter of our faith. Gang, here's what saints know. Saints know that we are not perfect. But here's what else they know. We have a perfect God. Saints know that we are not perfect, but God's love is always perfect. It never ends. You see, God forgives endlessly. Here's what saints know, that God is infinitely faithful to people like you and people like me. Here's what saints know, God's mercy endures forever. And here's what else they know, that God's love never fails. Here's the deal, folks. Saints know it's not about us having it all together all the time. It's not about all saint all the time. It's about a God who is perfect, who has a perfect love, a perfect forgiveness. His love never fails. A love for people like you and for people like me.
I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my tomb till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried that I know. The old me knew Jesus when I met you. Oh, you called my name, and I ran out that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. I needed rescue, my sin was heavy. Chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, it was an orphan, but you called me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing. Your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future, my eyes are open, 'cause when you called my name, I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day.
As we close our time together, I want to invite you to join with me as together we pray the prayer our Lord taught us. Together we pray, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Hey gang, thanks for being with us today, especially if this is your first time. If it is your first time, we'd love to connect with you. I want to invite you to take a little next step. Head out to our website, calvaryalec.org, and there hit the button that says sign up for emails. It's an easy next step that allows us to connect with you. We'll shoot you an email that shares all the ways that you can get involved. It's an easy next step. Hey, before you go, I want to introduce you to three of my good friends who are going to share Calvary's top three. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Christy, Sarah, and Wanda.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christy Fromm.
I'm Wanda Dent.
And I'm Sarah Nath. We're here to bring you today's top three.
But first, we thought it'd be fun to give you a snapshot of some of the ways we're engaged in the church life at Calvary. All of us volunteer regularly for the modern worship service, both at church and at the lake.
You can find me at the welcome desk most Tuesdays, and I help coordinate baptisms. I also joined the caring ministry team a few years ago and love my monthly visits with a homebound Calvary member.
On Mondays, you can find me in the basement with the Calvary quilters, working on the 500-plus quilts that we send around the world, and all three of us participate in connect groups.
What's fun about our connections to one another is that they stretch beyond church. We're also active in Alexandria area newcomers, a group whose mission is to help area residents develop new friendships and learn more about the Alexandria and surrounding communities.
Every Sunday I look around and I'm amazed at how much overlap there is between Calvary and newcomer connections. It's hard to know which came first.
Our connections through both of these organizations make such a difference, both in faith and in friendships. And at the heart, that's what Calvary's mission is all about, to lead all people to a lifelong faith in Jesus Christ.
Connections start when each of us takes a step towards engagement, whether it's through a group, an event, or serving together.
One way Calvary women can find connection is at our upcoming Women's Brunch on Saturday, November 8th at 9 a.m. The theme is All In, and we'll explore what it means to live a life that's truly all in as a woman of faith. It could be trying something outside your comfort zone, saying yes to a new challenge, or pushing through self-doubt. You'll hear inspiring speakers, enjoy music, giveaways, and more. The brunch is free and open to women of all ages and stages, so invite a friend or your Connect group. We'll also collect a free will offering to support a women's vocational school in Ghana, West Africa, and childcare is available for kids birth through age 5. Visit our website, calvaryalec.org, to sign up.
Speaking of Ghana, they're one of our amazing mission partners, and I want to invite you to an international missions trip interest meeting on Sunday, November 9th, between services at 9:30. I love international travel, and while I haven't yet traveled with a Calvary group, I can tell you these trips are life-changing. You'll hear about our mission partners both in Costa Rica and Ghana, learn about upcoming travel opportunities, and discover how you can make a difference. Whether you go, give, or pray, if you've ever had that little nudge to step out and serve, this is a great first step.
And finally, as a church, we understand the holidays can be a mix of emotions. While they're filled with joy for some, they can also bring grief, stress, and struggles for others. That's why Calvary is hosting Surviving the Holidays on Sunday, November 16th at 6 p.m. Our care team and several mental health professionals will share tools and insights to help you navigate the season with strength, hope, and healing. Whether you're dealing with loss, financial worries, complicated family dynamics, or other challenges, you don't have to face it alone. This event is free and open to all, and we'd love for you to join us. Visit our website to sign up.
We're so thankful for all the ways people get connected and grow in faith here at Calvary. There really is something for everyone.
You can always find details about these and other events on our website, calvaryalec.org. Just click the top 3 button.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
That was great. Thanks, friends. Hey, as we close our time together here at Calvary, here's what you need to know. If you're new to Calvary, you are joining one of the most generous groups of people I have ever met. They are incredibly generous. As followers of Jesus, we believe that our generosity is just one more way that we can follow Jesus. And so we're going to close the way we always do. We're going to pause for a minute to give thanks to God for all the blessings in our life, but also to give back a portion of what God has first given us. Today, you can make your offerings in any of the ways on the screen. The first and maybe the easiest way to make your gift is to head to our website, calvaryalec.org, hit the button that says Give, and there you can make a one-time, or I want to invite you to consider a reoccurring gift. You can also make a gift using that app on your phone, Venmo. You can write a check, drop it in the mail to the address on the screen, or if you're not quite certain how to make your gift, we'd love to connect with you. And just give us a call in the church office. Folks, thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you next week.